and time was getting short. So 40 hit, I was still, I won't say treading water, but I was still in a position that I had been carrying for 5 years or so. And I realized, hey, I'm making this guy money. For the next step, right? Time to move on.
This is Small Business Celebration, where we introduce you to successful small business owners at their place of business so that you can learn something that you can use today to grow a strong and profitable business and get your next big breakthrough. I've got to get to the show. I've got to get to the show. I got to get to the show. I'm late. I'm paddling as fast as I can. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Small Business Celebration. We're going to be talking about what is the best way to communicate price increases in a service-based business. We're also going to be talking about how do you talk to vendors who don't communicate very well at all. And to guide us through all that is Jeff Hudson, the owner of RYMAC General Construction. Welcome to Small Business Celebration.
Thank you very much.
And for Visioneers who don't know who you are, what is it that you do?
Jeff Hudson, business owner of a family-owned business, and we are a general contractor in Bakersfield.
What kind of general contracting do you do? Do you do residential, commercial?
No, our main focus is commercial work. We also do public works business with the city and whatnot.
Why commercial work and not residential? Is this one of those what you tell the public and there's this version you tell reality?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm pretty upfront with the way we handle business. Residential, you tend to be a little bit more personal with individuals because you're living within their barrier.
It's their home.
It's their home, right? And commercial world, it's more of a business transaction. I don't necessarily like entrenching myself into somebody else's realm.
Oh.
I like to be able to keep a barrier between business and relationship.
What are you working on right now?
Right now we're working for Bold House Properties. We have some projects with them. We're also doing business with Castle & Cook. And then what's going to be our shining star for the year is a new Moo Creamery restaurant.
Moo Creamery?
Yes, sir.
Well, Jess has been a former guest on the show. She's moving.
She is moving.
Tell us a little bit about this project.
We've taken the old, I think it was an old Japanese or Chinese restaurant on the corner of 18th and Q.
Right down the street from where we're here at Modern Gigi.
Yes, sir. So we've taken that building, we've gutted it. I think it was recently, Inclusion Films was the recent tenant. We've gutted it back to the four walls. We pulled out the old patio slab, and we're doing a full remodel with bar, open kitchen, and outdoor seating.
For the Visioneer out there who is looking at designing or remodeling a project, what's the process like? Starting with scratching it out on a napkin to opening with a red ribbon with the mayor of
Sure.
Bakersfield.
So the first step, I would say, obviously find a space or find two spaces. And then the next step would be to hire the architect, figure out the floor plan and the layout that you want to do. At that point, I would transition into a design build, hire your contractor so they can assist with the budgeting aspect through the course of the remaining part of the design. And once the design is final and locked down, the contractor would actually bid the project out to the sub-trades. And at that point, it would be a guaranteed maximum price, minus some unforeseens or changes that would be provided. But it's ultimately finding the space, find your designer, find your contractor, and then bid the project out, and then start your project once permits are released.
You got into this trade when you got out of the Marine Corps.
So when I got out of the Marines, I first worked for a concrete company down in the Cucamonga area. I was pulling nails out of boards and cleaning form boards. I was a basic laborer, not doing too crazy, intricate work, if you will, cleaning up the yard, washing trucks, and things of that nature. Until I got my chance, got my resume on the street a little bit, and with some of the background and leadership qualities that the Marine Corps provides, I was able to pick up a position down in San Pedro working for Fort MacArthur as a facilities manager down there. That really got my foot in the door for the construction aspect of things.
Why did you want to start your own business?
One of the first the performance evaluations that you do as an employee, one of the first ones that I filled out, I can remember that one of my future goals was either to be an executive or find something comparable. I wasn't given the chance. I did promote well, and I did do well. I was never given the chance for an executive position. And time was getting short. I think I gave myself a timeline of 40 years old. So 40 hit, and I was still, I won't say treading water, but I was still in a position that I had been carrying for 5 years or so. And I realized, hey, I'm making this guy money. We're doing well. I'm comfortable in the position that I'm in. I'm comfortable with the processes. Time for the next step, right? Time to move on. So we came to an agreement. He let me venture out on my own. That was late 2018, and the wife gets on me because in my first 2 months I was basically sitting on my butt doing nothing, trying to drum up work. I don't say we started as a company until 2019. January 1, 2019 would be the beginning of RYMAC. But I had about a 2-month transition period there where I had to figure it out. I had to get my relationships built back up in the Bakersfield area. They had to understand that it's under a new name. It's still backed by Jeff Hudson, who I have solid relationships throughout town. And then they had to be comfortable with me knowing that, hey, you're starting out on your own. Okay, do you have the finances? Do you have the support? Or are we taking some risk here? So it took probably 2 months, the 2 months leading up to 2019, and then 2 months into 2019, about a 4-month transition to where I really hit a solid job to where we're pulling in some decent income. And from there, it's been lights out.
And if you've had your business remodeled because of RYMAC General Construction, maybe it's time you get a new house. And for that, reach out to Mike Saba, a Zillow Premier Agent with Watson Realty. Born and raised and never left Bakersfield, give Mike Saba a call at 661-203-8406 or reach him at mikesaba1@icloud.com today. And Visioneers, if you've got a question, you've got a thought, something you'd like to learn about here on Small Business Celebration, reach out to us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and your question could appear just like Melissa, who asks, as a service-based business owner, what's the best way to communicate price increases to clients without damaging trust or losing their business?
Oh, that's a good one. That's something we deal with on a daily basis. Because you're always, especially with existing buildings, you're always running into something new.
Right. Change order.
Change order. And nobody likes the word change order because it's an unexpected cost. And that's falling back to previous conversation. That's where it's good to bring in a contractor prior to, because you can have those eyes beforehand. However, to present that to an owner, me personally, I don't like to approach an owner talking money without having an option A, option B, option C. That being said, we always try to find a solution to the problem prior to presentation of a change order, if you will. If there's opportunity to save $1 or go a different route with different finishes, or possibly minimize the damage, we call it damage control. But before having that end all, this is what it costs conversation, I always try to preload myself so we can have an open conversation about things rather than just slam a bill on their desk.
There was a period not that long ago where there was just price jumps in the price of copper like
Correct.
Nobody's business. And it didn't matter what vendor you got copper wire from, it all went up. How do you present a situation like that to a customer? Because now you also have price increases for the labor to install it as well.
Typically, in our world, we're controlling costs by providing a guaranteed maximum price. We are left to hold those prices for the better part of 60 days. Once we have products identified, the priority is to lock in costs with the material suppliers as early as possible. So you don't see the spikes in cost. If you put in your purchase as early as possible, typically the suppliers will honor the original price at bid time.
What is the most common reason for a change order?
Obviously unforeseen. A lot of the private jobs and public jobs for that matter, you're in a competitive bid situation and all you're provided is a set of documents and what you can see from, say, like a job walk or a site visit or something along those lines. You can't see what's in the walls, especially if we're dealing with an existing building or an existing structure. Once you start getting into the walls, it's a whole different world.
Right.
Right.
But what causes those delays?
One of the biggest delays that we actually have in the world that people don't see or understand are the timelines provided by utilities.
Oh, really?
Your gas connections and your electrical connections.
It's the 9 to 12 month wait for PG&E to get a transformer?
Yeah, things of that nature. Yeah, or even, you know, at the supply level, the 12 months it takes if you're putting in a new piece of a new electrical equipment, the main service. It's to the point where people or developers are pre-ordering equipment upwards of 6 months before releasing the project. So as an industry, we've kind of, you know, we've tried to shoehorn the projects into the original budget by or in the original timeline and schedule by pre-ordering some of the longer lead items that we know about now.
Do you plan for this by forecasting based on past year's projects?
Not necessarily, not at least at the contractor level. Maybe at the developer level, I think there's some of those equations going on in the background because they know what the grand scheme is for their builds through the course of the years. They're planning developments long time before the contractor sees things.
What's the difference between an architect and an interior designer?
An interior designer is basically the lipstick of the project, if you will. The intricacies for the colors, the materials, things of that nature, but that would be secondary to an architect's selection process as well. Typically, the interior designer is in support of the architectural team.
So the architect goes through and roughs out, this is the general look of the building, and then the interior decorator finishes it off and makes it all.
Correct, if the interior decorator is needed. A lot of the commercial clients find an interior decorator just to be an extra expenditure that's not necessarily needed.
And if your business is growing and you need some more yard signs, foam boards, banners, and the like, might I suggest you reach out to Minuteman Press of Bakersfield. Give them a call at 661-323-7757 or visit them at bakersfield.minutemanpress.com. Ask about their 24x18 yard sign special. Go ahead and give Minuteman Press of Bakersfield a call at 661-323-7757 or visit them at bakersfield.minutemanpress.com today. And if you're not familiar with the way the Visioneer game works, I have a random word generator here on my phone. I have no idea what the random word generator is going to create, but more importantly, neither does our guest. And our guest has to take each of 3 words that I give him and somehow associate each word with his business. Now, you do realize, Jeff, that the fate of the entire construction industry is based upon your ability to get these 3 words correct.
Got it. I'm going to fail.
We're doomed! All right. Your first word is bread.
I would associate that with money.
Okay.
God, and that goes back, I mean, I don't know how long ago bread was used as a slang for cash, but it's showing my age, that's for sure.
And you can't make enough?
Can't make enough bread? God, I don't know where I would go with that.
I think you just did. Congratulations, that's the first word, you got it right. Okay, our second word is constant.
Everything in construction is constant in terms of fighting.
Okay.
Every day is a fight. Outside of that, there is nothing that's constant in construction. Every day, and that's what I enjoy about it. Every day is a new day with a new fight.
Congratulations, that's 2 for 2.
Cool.
Now it all comes down to this. Get this word wrong, all is lost. You ready?
Got it.
Okay, your third word is crutch.
God, I've got to think about my wife being my crutch. Well, she is my crutch in terms of supporting me when I come home pissed off at the world.
Yeah?
She is somebody I can always lean on, and she talks me off the ledge quite a bit.
Congratulations to you and your wife for saving the construction world. Well done, you. And now that you've had this life-changing moment to be here on Small Business Celebration and save the world of the construction world, who do you have to thank for this?
I got to thank Mark Bourne with Express Electric for getting me involved.
Recommended you on the show.
Yeah,
huh?
It's a good experience. I think a lot of folks should come out.
How did you meet Mark?
Mark and I met probably about 15 years ago on a project. I was a project manager for I think we were doing a shopping center at that time. Mark was hired on as the electrician. We attacked life the same way and stayed, friendship based for the last 15 years now.
Anytime I see property for rent, property for sale, I see it's X amount per square foot. Is there any rhyme or reason to those costs of figuring out how much it costs to build something per square foot?
I don't, and I'll be honest, I don't know much about the rental world.
Well, no, it's talking about construction.
No, I understand, and I'll segue into the construction aspect of it. But when you see signs for X dollar per square foot, usually that's the rent base plus some type of an allowance for a tenant improvement that's provided by the landlord. In the commercial world, in the contractor's world, you can't really put a square, okay, it's going to cost you a square foot. Now you can do a like for like and provide a basic budget, but there's so many factors between projects that a true cost per square foot wouldn't be a realistic conversation to have.
Then how do architects do that? Because as a business owner, you come in, you pick a piece of property, you hire an architect, and they design the building and they say, oh, it's going to cost you $1.3 million. And everybody on the planet knows that's not the real number, but how do they come up with those numbers?
Sales pitch, right? there's always a sales pitch, okay. Right? It's a way to gain business. If there is a target, you're not going to hit bullseye with the square footage. You may be within the target, you may be hitting the paper.
And you hope it's 24 by 36 paper.
Right, but it's very, very common that an architect's square foot or projected, they call it an engineer's estimate. The engineer's estimate is far less than what the true value for the market is.
And that brings us to our second Visioneer question, which is also brought to you by Mike Saba, a Zillow Premier Agent with Watson Realty, selling Bakersfield homes since 1992. Give Mike Saba a call at 661-203-8406 or reach him at mikesaba1@icloud.com today. Visioneer David asks, what's the most effective way to follow up with unresponsive vendors while maintaining a good working relationship?
Today's world is all about respect, right? So if you can do it in a respectful manner while getting your point across, I think it says a lot. Now, if you're an individual that if you're not getting a response and you're laying down the law and things of that nature right off the get-go, rather than wading into the water, if you will.
So it's better off if you're not getting those return phone calls from the outset, just find somebody else?
Yeah, I would say, and I don't know if you find somebody else directly, but I'll have a plan B, have a backup plan. And there's, in the construction world, business world for that matter, there's business code of ethics that you can follow, and state of California codes that you can provide notice and things of that nature. If it's a contractual relationship, there's legal ways that you can go about breaking the relationship, or at least putting the relationship on notice before termination. But yeah, I would always have, if you're not getting a response out of an individual, go to plan B. That way you've got a parachute.
Is it common for general contractors to have a bevy of subcontractors for each discipline? You've got Mark Boren, for one, with his electric company, but you also have 2 or 3 others in case he's busy or he's not able to pick up the phone call because of some reason.
Yes, 100%, and that's something I pride myself on. Plenty of projects are bid, and everybody wants to be in your back pocket, knowing that you're going to be the successful contractor for the project. However, I'm upfront with them all that I don't need RYMAC failing on a project because I'm bottlenecking trades. If I've got the same sub trade on all my projects, now I'm forced to live by what his schedule is. Well, that's not the way the construction world works. The general contractor is the maker of the schedule in coordination with the ownership. So the subcontractors, as much as they support the contractor, the general contractor has to be the one in control. And all the individuals that I deal with understand that in that regard. I don't have a number one to turn to. I have a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I can spread the love out as far as work goes, and that way I don't get myself into predicaments.
One of the things that's a fear with many business owners is they have to get the job. They have to get the project. They hate saying no to projects. And yet, a lot of business owners are busy.
Sure.
Our plate is full. Is it a bad thing, or do you hold it against another subcontractor if you call them and say, I've got this project, and they say, I'm sorry, Jeff, I can't do it. We're just overbooked. I can do it June of next year, but I can't do it now. Do you hold that against them?
Not at all. Not at all. I live in the world of, not necessarily black and white, but let's be upfront with each other and be respectful of each other's time. I don't want to be chasing down a rabbit hole just for a certain individual. If you don't have the time to take care of me, then I'll find another to take care of you. But I need to know that up front so I can go the different direction. We do have projects that I do set aside for certain individuals, because there's some trades that are stronger at certain finishes and certain work than others. So we'll set those scopes aside and work with those individuals. But if the time's not there, then you move on to another option. And I'm the same way. There are times where my plate's full, and as much as I would love to help somebody out, I may not be the contractor, for your project. But I'll lend myself to help in some regard, whether it's budgeting in the background or reviewing something that you need some help with to look at possibly going another direction. I will facilitate my time in some regard.
You mentioned that you've got your contractors that are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That sounds like there's a hierarchy. And you also mentioned that some contractors are better at some things than others. How do you work with contractors and let them know that you value them all, but some are better than others in certain respects or responses for doing different kinds of things?
I would say, if we want to put an example out there, friend groups, if you will. Some friends are stronger in some areas over others,
right.
But that doesn't mean that you devalue that friend by any way. Correct? So subcontractors are the same way. If I have a subcontractor that I enjoy working with, but he's got 2 projects with me, and I'm looking at project 4 and 3 and 4 right now. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be upfront and honest with them that say, hey, I would love your number so we can maintain competitiveness. Right. However, know that I'm going to probably go a different direction because I've got you on my right hand. Now I need somebody on my left hand. And as a group, we're all going to succeed together.
It's no secret that there's a lot of business owners right now that are struggling. What do you say to the business owner who is having a rough time, and give them encouragement and let them know that it's going to be okay?
There's always tomorrow. That's the way we live. Today may be a crappy day, but you know what? You're going to wake up tomorrow and it may be the best day of your life. And the only way you're going to get there is to get through today. It sucks, if whatever predicament they're in, it may suck at the time. Case in point, my son plays football. He hates practice on the hot days during the summer like it is the worst thing in the world. He comes home and he's dragging his feet and complaining about how he doesn't want to do this and do that, but constantly reminding him it's a stepping stone to get to where you want. You can't have the cake unless you're working to get the cake. You can't have the prize unless you're working to get. Nobody wakes up, out of their sleep and is the guy. You got to work to be the guy. If you're having a bad day, you suck it up, pull up your drawers and tread on through, make the best of it what you can, and then attack the next day a little bit different.
Jeff, this has been a real treat. Thank you for joining us here on Small Business Celebration.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
If Visioneers want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
We have a website, www.rymacgci.com. My phone number is 661-932-4488. It's a direct line to myself. Text, voicemail. Can't promise I'll get back to you right away, but I will make every effort to.
And I'll be right back with my final thought, why dry texting is not your friend. Dry texting is not your friend. Not that long ago, I was here in the office editing or doing some paperwork or something along those lines when my wife texted me and she said, "Michael, I don't really feel like cooking dinner tonight. Can we go out instead?" And I replied, "Sure." A little while later, she says, "I'm thinking Chinese. How does Chinese sound?" And I replied back, "Good." And a while after that, she texted back and said, "If you don't really want Chinese, we could go someplace else." And I replied back, "Chinese is fine." And then about an hour later, when we met up and went out to dinner, I could tell with my not-so-spidey sense something was wrong. And very patiently, I waited for her to tell me, and then finally she let it out and she said, "Do you really want to go out to eat tonight?" And I said, "Well, of course. Why wouldn't I?" And she said, "You didn't really sound like it when we were texting." I thought, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, your answers were really short and there wasn't anything to it. Are you sure you want to go out to dinner tonight?" And so I said yes, and we went and everything smoothed over and we had a wonderful dinner. And a couple of days later, I was mentioning this to a friend of mine. And she said, "Michael, what you were doing was dry texting." And I had a very confused look on my face. And she said, "Dry texting is when somebody goes through and uses one or two words without any punctuation, without any emojis, without any kind of context to your answer. And so the recipient takes your single word answers and puts their own mental imprint on what they think you are saying." And that's when I realized what I had done. "Michael, would you like to go out to dinner tonight?" "Sure." "How does Chinese sound?" "Fine." "Are you sure we could go someplace else?" No, it's okay." That's what Tamla read into my dry texting. And let this be a lesson for visioneers all around the world. Nowadays, we have the ability to piss somebody off, not just from 100 yards away, but from miles away. In the future, as we go through and we text people, use punctuation, use emojis, use other ways, maybe a longer 3 or 4 words to give context to your answer, because dry texting is not your friend. I hope you enjoyed our conversation this week here on Small Business Celebration, and I hope you learned something that you can use today to grow a strong and profitable business. And we'll see you here again next week when we celebrate another small business making a big breakthrough.
Biggest injury that I've had on the job, probably a smashed finger. In today's day and age, you don't really want to promote injury by any way, shape, or form, especially with the OSHA penalties that come behind it. So commercially, we strive to be a high safety industry and try to minimize injury as much as possible. You're not a real contractor unless you've failed and learned from your mistakes. One of the things I pride myself on is making calls in the field, and sometimes they're not the right call. You learn from the wrong call and make sure it doesn't occur again, or you think about the situation a little bit longer and deeper before proceeding. I think the biggest thing that the Marine Corps instilled in me would be integrity. Be truthful and honest with individuals and provide a product that only you would be proud of. The number one red flag for choosing a general contractor, someone that can't communicate. If an individual can't communicate and be specific in his communication, wouldn't be somebody that I would want to hire. If a contractor speaks in a lot of generalities, I would be wary. Number one thing to look for, that I would look for in an architect, would be the ability to listen to the client rather than be headstrong in his own design, or her own design for that matter. Because the architect's carrying the piece of paper that their way is the highway and alternatives are not necessarily welcomed. However, there are a handful of architects that we've dealt with that are very open to alternative solutions, if you will. You should never hire a contractor that tells you, "I got this, it's all good." Because it's never all good. You're constantly fidgeting with budget or relationships or subcontractors on a daily basis. Number one way to qualify a general contractor would be to ask for references and to walk his finished product on previous projects.